Welcome to Wesley Impact Highlights as we look back on the year that was. Last year we met Justin Gardner during Drug Action Week. For Justin, his life of crime and drugs began before he became even a teenager. Many of those he mixed with were part of Australia's underworld. Now he's a pastor at the church where he first came to find real faith and purpose through Jesus Christ. Join me as we revisit his compelling story of transformation. Justin, thanks for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Look, you describe in the intro in your latest book, 14 years ago, you describe yourself, and I'm reading this very carefully, stressed out, washed out, drugged out, looked out, and locked out. That doesn't sound very good to me. What did you really mean by that?
At that point in my life, I had broken probably every promise I'd ever made. I'd burned every bridge, and I really didn't see any way forward for any kind of success or any peace or anything at all.
And so you really, you could say you felt right at the bottom.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Now you describe, and this is all sensitive stuff, but I think it's part of what happens when you're in these situations, that your relationship with your father was probably the hardest struggle, the most difficult place. And you talk, don't you, about a football trophy moment.
Absolutely.
Tell us a bit about that.
Well, you know, my father was a very hard man, and what made it hard for me is not just how hard he was and how unfair he was, is that I loved him so much. And he was the sort of man that would make me swim 30 or 40 laps of the indoor pool in grade 4. And if I didn't get the times that he approved of, he would withdraw his love from me and tell me I'll never be anything in life. And then even when I played football, after every game, he would tell me I wasn't good enough, I didn't run hard enough, or, you know, it was always not good enough story for him. But what happened is they ended up having best and fairest at the end of the year, and I come from a poor family, so I knew they had pies there and soft drinks, so I was looking forward to it. Because when you've been told your whole life as a little boy that you are nothing, you'll never achieve anything, I didn't expect anything. But on that day, it ended up I came runner-up to a guy that got best and fairest. I lost by 1 vote. So for me, I'd won something. But on the way home in the car, you know, with my dad, you don't talk in the car. He's a very aggressive man. And he leant over to me, and I was so excited that I'd won something for the first time, my first achievement. And he said to me, "Do you want to know why you lost by 1 vote?" And I said, "Why, Dad?" And he said, "Because I voted for the other guy because he was better than you."
Really? Gosh, at your lowest point, you talk about yourself being dream bankrupt.
Yep, absolutely. There was no dreams left for anything. I didn't have a dream that I'd ever be married or anyone would ever love me. I didn't have a dream that I would ever have children or succeed in anything whatsoever. Nothing left.
So you'd reached that point, and we're going to talk about that turnaround and what really that meant in your life in just a few moments. But really, at that rock bottom moment, we're going to hear how God met you there, and that really is the amazing thing. But before then, I want to introduce us to today's singer on the show. Jordan Wardner is new to the programme, and he's just released a new album. His song choice highlights that even though we may feel lost at times, at those rock bottom moments, God knows who we are.
He sits and wonders, when's it gonna end? Throwing questions at an open fire, while overhead there's a heavy cloud weighing itself down on his young life, and he don't think that he'll sleep tonight. 'Cause when every situation turns to pain, and the ones you thought you loved the most let you down again, and you're reaching out for something, someone who understands, nothing in this world will do. Who am I that you would rescue me? Who am I that you would take my place and tell me I am free, and promise that you love me and that you have a plan? Well, because of what you've done, I will believe that you know who I am. dirty bed, a baby cries. A little life without a name, without a home, left to die. But somewhere in our heart you're stirring. Love can overcome the hurting. Nothing is impossible for you. And who am I that you would rescue me? That my name would be graven on the hands of my King. He promised to never leave me. I'm safe within his hands. And because of what he's done, I will believe. Jesus, 'cause of you I am complete. And you know who I am. You know who I am. Call me by name.
To commemorate 200 years of faith and pioneering care in Australia, Wesley Mission has released a publication documenting its work in the community.
Everyone needs a little rest, everyone needs a little joy.
For more information on today's people, today's story, you can contact us on 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Don't forget, all our guests, you can find information about them in the week that follows, and that's no different there with Jordan and his latest CD. You'll find all those details on our website this week. We're back with Justin Gardner. Tell me how then, we've held back now some of the pain and we've moved into a new stage of your life. How did you come to reach out to God in that situation?
Well, I ended up very suicidal, and I was going to murder somebody. And I ended up lying on some floorboards, and I'd had Christians come out into the street and tell me about Jesus and tell me about the love of God. And I would respond to them with, I'd spit on them and say things about their mother. But I also had people praying for me. And so I knew that I could call out to Jesus. I knew that I could ask him to forgive me of my sins. But at that time, I wasn't willing to, because I didn't know how I would live without living a dishonest life as a criminal. So I called out to him on the floorboards that night in that home. And I said, I've done it not long enough my way. I'll do it your way if you just come into my life, take over my life and forgive me of my sins.
And the good thing about coming from a bad situation, nobody needs to persuade you about the need or the wrong. It's all so obvious, isn't it, really?
No, that's right. There was no one around to advise me either way. It was just me alone, and I called out to the one that made me.
Now, you wrote in your book at the beginning, it was for your boys, and really that's important, really, in the light of your earlier story, isn't it? You know, that you're very proud of your boys and you prayed for them. And is that breaking the cycle or stopping that intergenerational pain?
Absolutely. When I reconnected with my grandmother after 25 years, I got to talk to her and find out about how my dad was as a child and how his father was towards him and how his father was towards him before that. And what I found was that abuse and alcoholism and violence was generations back. So for me, I decided to break that through my relationship with God, that my sons will never have to suffer that way.
And how's that changed your life?
Oh, it's absolutely changed my life. I didn't realise that my sons would even be a part of a healing process for my life. Just the wonder of how soft and kind they are. It shows me a lot about how God is. And yeah, and it's been a healing process just having children for me and being a father.
And then the church in which you're a part of now at Hoppers Crossing in Victoria, that's a church that you describe as where you stirred coffee and you've come right through. They've been part of your story, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. The senior pastor of that church, you know, really probably took a big gamble on using me in anything, really, because I still look like a drug dealer for quite some time in church. I would still wear sunglasses and gold chains and things in church. But, you know, stirring coffees, I felt privileged to be able to do something to help others, because I'd lived my life for myself. And God started changing my heart, where I started to think for others, not just for myself.
And how's that affected your ministry, that background? What do you bring from it in a positive sense?
Well, for me, I really had nothing good come out of my background, so I see that really my mess God turned into a message. And if He can do it for me, He can do it for anyone. So whenever I meet anyone, I realise that whether I'm talking to a millionaire or someone in prison or someone who's homeless or someone who's a business person or just a mum, I know that everyone's fighting something. And so that makes me feel that I'm sort of on the same path as them. We're all fighting something, but I've got a God that helps me win.
And God brings you people of that kind across your path.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I get a lot of favour. I just love people now. You know, some people would think, oh, because of my background, I would more minister to people in that background, which is true. I do. I still minister into people that are in the underworld and things like that, and in jails. And but more than that, I get to minister to intellectuals, and because everyone's fighting something. So I have a heart to help anyone in any area they're in life.
Look, you've written this book. What message would you hope people would take from it?
Well, number one is I would want people to take from it that God is real, that He loves them, that they're an individual, He made them, they're a one of a kind, and that I would hope they wouldn't die a cheap copy of someone else, and that long before they ever had a problem, He already created a solution, and it's in Him. So.
And for you as in ministry, what about the future? How would you see that?
The future for me is probably to encourage and reach and inspire as many people as possible with what God's done in my life and what He continues to do. Also, I'd like to see more kids' homes for the poor, probably pioneered out of my church, and churches planted. And also, I'd like to probably show my family the world.
Absolutely. And you've already begun to make those links, I know, in Africa, and that's such a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Justin, for coming in and sharing your story, a story of transformation, and I think a story of reconnection as well, in a real understanding of family, as well as a preacher and a pastor. God bless you in your ministry.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back in a short message.
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Reverend Dr. Keith Gardner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Reverend Gardner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June, 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Justin shared with us a very powerful story and how words can have a powerful effect on all of us, especially young people. Wesley Mission's Operation Hope sponsorship programme is designed to support children from 10 to 16 who've also faced hard times. For Sinead, a family breakdown led to years of bullying at school. Let's see how Operation Hope at Vision Valley is helping turn the lives of kids around.
I'm Carl Stefanovic. Welcome to this special Sunday edition of A Current Affair. And tonight, that video. The moment when a 15-year-old boy said, "Enough is enough."
They were saying that I was dumb, I wasn't smart enough, I didn't want to go to school, I didn't want to get out of bed. My mum found it really hard to try to get me back on track to going to school and everything, but it just got worse. I used to hit people when they said things about me, and at one stage I actually ended up getting suspended from school. I just couldn't take it, I snapped. It was just a little bit too much for me.
When Sinead arrived, she was quite quiet. She actually came with another person that she knew that had been through the program before. She didn't really talk to many people. She was a bit like depressed, sort of like a bit sad. She wasn't sure on how the program was going to go.
I was severely nerve-wracked about it. I wasn't in my surroundings, in my element, and I had no idea what was coming to me. And then everyone was just so friendly and nice and kind and caring. Jess, to be honest, I see her as more as a sister to me. She will listen to you. She is always there. Vision Valley had really helped me. They helped me open up. They helped me realize what I was doing was wrong and I should be the bigger person. They said it's okay to be you. It's okay to let people know what's going on, so then you don't have to have that guilt and worry behind it. So, and then after that, I just forgot about everything, and everything kind of dulled down after that.
Operation Hope is there to build their self-esteem and confidence. It's early intervention, so they come out here, they're affirmed by the leaders, they have fun, they can go home with those skills, they can go back to school with those skills as well.
I've learnt a lot from Vision Valley, and what I would say to everyone, it's the best experience you could have. When I went through the program, I felt happy, and my mum came back and saw a real difference. Now I look forward to going to school and look forward to seeing friends who care about me.
Sinead is one story, but I get probably about 250 stories of these a year. We have our bullying cases, but we also have domestic violence and foster care kids, out-of-home kids, and these kids are like 14 and they don't have a place to go.
The practical and encouraging thing about Operation Hope is that the more resources we receive, the more children we can actually support. We've already got, as you can see, this wonderful facility. It's been here for 40 years. And then you add to that, we've got Wesley Mission's 200 years of experience and presence in this area, and particularly in helping young people and children. And all that comes together on one site. So for $600 per child, we can support them and turn past experiences into a springboard so that they can have an exciting future.
I feel that I do have a future to look forward to. I do have that hope that I could be something bigger than I thought I'd be before.
Let me draw your attention to Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, 26 to 39, if you've got the time to read it later. I want to tell you that when we turn to this part of Luke's Gospel, we recognise that to this point in most of the Gospels, we realise that Jesus spent so much of his ministry around the Galilee. Invariably, in fact, around Capernaum, which was the base and home for much of his life. And then his ministry on the road and in Jerusalem. However, Jesus also sailed across the lake, and although there's some discussion about where Jesus landed, in Luke 8, he comes to what is clearly unfamiliar country. It was Gentile domain. It was not the kind of world that Jesus experienced as he was brought up in the Nazareth context, and certainly those years that he spent in Capernaum. It's a place where they kept pigs. That in itself would be considered unclean and would certainly be the only kind of thing that would be allowed to happen in other places other than the Jewish areas, happened in Gentile areas. And it's here that he meets a man who needs deliverance. It's interesting that so often Jesus told us those people he healed, and even about his disciples, he told them not to talk about what had happened. However, what we read here is very interesting. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged to go with him, but Jesus sent him away saying, "Return home and tell how much God has done for you." The exact opposite to the disciples, not to do things, but to him to do things. And we read, so the man went away and told all over the town how much Jesus had done for him. Going home. The most difficult of places. We've heard that already in this program as I've talked to somebody for whom home was clearly a very painful place. It's a difficult place to go home and tell the good news story of Jesus Christ. Tell what God has done, the heart of witness. So it's not just telling the story of who Jesus Christ is, but telling the story of what he has done in our lives. Now, it's different for all of us, and it's very different in people's lives. And in the dramatic story of one turning from a life of crime and drugs and a life that's so clearly and obviously contrary to the way of God, it may be obvious. But for many of us, it's different, but it's equally important that we're able to tell the story of what he has done. However, he also told it all over town. Now, I don't know what all over town means, but it means it was the indiscriminate sharing of the good news, almost like Jesus told in that marvelous parable. The seed was thrown everywhere, some on good soil, some on different kinds of soil, but not having any discrimination in where it should go, all over town. And when God does a work in our lives, when we have that story and testimony in our own lives, then we know very well that we share it with everyone. And this incident, in a most unlikely place, becomes an indicator of the call to witness. And it's in unusual places, in difficult circumstances, that so often God begins a work in the life of somebody who is moving in this direction, where everything seems so contrary. God turns him round to something better. And time again, our songs and our witness that we share here on the show really are all bound up in stories that tell of the dramatic turnaround in people's lives. So when Jesus goes to the other side of the lake, to an unfamiliar place, in a country and a context that is so very, very different, here somebody is brought into wholeness of life and given the instruction by the Saviour himself to go and share it with his family back home and share it all over town is what he does. Well, that really is what happens when a person meets Jesus Christ. Now, your life may well be connected to Jesus Christ, but it may well be that by listening to our story today, by listening to the songs, there is a real sense of God drawing you closer to a better way. And that call to follow Christ is a very real one. And what's certain is this: when you find Christ, you can't keep it private. You might want to do that sometimes. Ultimately, it spills over into the whole of life. And what's inside you, what has happened to you, what has changed you, becomes now the source of real, active, and dynamic witness. May God bless you today in such a way that your witness can count for something, because you really never know just who it is that you come into contact with. You may well meet a Justin. You may well meet somebody whose life is ready to be changed. And that can only happen when you and I are willing to tell our story of what God has done in our lives. And so in the unfamiliar place is a dramatic story of change. A story that's told to a family, a story that's told all over town. May God bless us with a real witness today.
If you would like to know more about today's topic, or for more on Keith's message, contact Keith by writing to Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235, or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
Many thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed Justin's story. Amid the direst of circumstances, even when he felt he had no one and nothing to look forward to, he cried out to God. There is hope and new life through Jesus Christ. I want to leave you with Shanti Batsky singing Breakthrough. So until next week, I wish you goodbye and God bless you.
I sing all the songs, I read all about you, I know right from wrong. What does it amount to if my life doesn't show how much I love you? I need you to break through, to tear down the walls, let everything fall, 'cause I want to praise you with nothing between. been scratching the surface.